Letting go of want is not giving up. It is awakening. Have you ever been told to just let it go and felt like they were asking you to give up? Maybe it was a dream, a relationship, a promotion, or simply a desire for things to be different. We often equate letting go with weakness, as if releasing a want means we've failed. But what if the opposite is true? What if letting go is not the end, but the beginning? You see, there's a hidden truth most people overlook. Letting go of want is not giving up. It's awakening. Wanting is like chasing the horizon. No matter how far you go, it keeps moving. We keep saying, when I get there, I'll be happy. But there keeps shifting. The car, the job, the approval, the perfect body, the perfect timing. It's always almost enough, but not quite. That's the trap of desire. It pulls you forward, but never lets you arrive. But when you let go, not out of defeat, but out of clarity, you wake up. You see that your worth was never tied to the outcome. That the peace you were chasing out there was already inside you. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. It's like loosening your grip on a rope that's burning your hand. The moment you release it, pain doesn't mean failure anymore. It means freedom. Think about it. How many times in your life has something you desperately wanted not happened, and later you were grateful it didn't? Letting go creates space. And in that space, something beautiful happens. Presence. You stop living in the not yet and start arriving in the right now. And maybe for the first time, you feel light. You feel awake. You feel alive. So the next time you feel torn between holding on and letting go, ask yourself, is this want leading me toward peace, or pulling me away from it? That simple question might be the beginning of your awakening. Because letting go isn't the same as losing. It's the moment you finally realize you already have enough. 1. Redefining want, from natural impulse to hidden trap. Let's talk about something that lives quietly in all of us, the feeling of wanting. Wanting more. Wanting better. Wanting something else. At first glance, want seems harmless, even human. We want to grow, to improve, to experience joy. And that's perfectly natural. Desire, in its pure form, is simply a signal, a direction, a movement toward life. But have you ever noticed how quickly want can morph into need, and then into never enough? We start with a simple wish, maybe to earn a little more, be a little healthier, find love, or feel seen. But when we chase that want without awareness, it grows legs of its own. Suddenly, it's not just a want, it's a condition for our happiness. I'll be okay only when I get this. And that's where the trap sets in. You see, the danger isn't in having desires. The danger is in being enslaved by them, when our peace of mind hangs entirely on whether we get what we want. I once met a man who worked his whole life to buy a beautiful home by the ocean. He made it. He got the view. But then, he wanted a bigger one. Then a quieter one. Then one in a better climate. And I realized, the house wasn't the trap. The wanting was. The Buddhist teachings call this tanha, a kind of thirst that can never truly be quenched. It's not that you shouldn't have goals. But when your identity, your worth, or your peace depend on them, you're no longer living, you're chasing. So what does it mean to let go of want? It doesn't mean you give up. It doesn't mean you settle. It means you wake up. You begin to ask, is this desire coming from my truth, or from my fear? Is it leading me toward freedom, or pulling me deeper into attachment? Letting go of want is not apathy. It's clarity. It's realizing that not everything you want is worth your energy. That some things are distractions dressed as dreams. That inner stillness often begins when you stop asking life to constantly give you more, and start recognizing what you already have. It's in that pause, in that honest reevaluation, that the hidden trap of want is revealed. And more importantly, it's where something softer begins to grow, contentment. Not the dull kind, but the deep kind, the kind that doesn't need to prove anything. So maybe the real power isn't in fulfilling every want, but in knowing which ones to hold, and which ones to release. 3. Awakening is freedom from psychological hunger. There's a hunger that doesn't live in the body, it lives in the mind. Not the kind that's satisfied with food or comfort, but a deep, persistent craving for something more. More success, more love, more validation, more next. It's what I call psychological hunger, and most of us are starving without even realizing it. But something powerful happens when we begin to awaken. We stop chasing the illusion that fulfillment is always somewhere else, in the next relationship, the next job, the next version of ourselves. And instead, we turn inward. We begin to see that what we were seeking was never out there. Awakening is not about becoming someone new. It's about seeing clearly for the first time. We wake up from the dream of when this happens, then I'll be happy. We recognize how the mind constantly projects happiness into the future, always one step ahead, just out of reach. But what if happiness isn't out there? What if it's already here, hidden beneath layers of wanting, comparison, and fear? The Buddha taught that the root of our suffering is this craving, this psychological hunger. And freedom isn't found in satisfying every desire, but in understanding them, in seeing their impermanence. Because the moment we stop identifying with the chase, we begin to feel something rare, peace. Not the loud kind, but the kind that sits quietly in the background of our being, waiting for us to notice it. I remember once sitting in silence after a difficult week, no music, no phone, just stillness. And for the first time in a while, I felt full. Not because anything had changed, but because I stopped running. And in that stillness, I saw the truth. I was always enough. I had just forgotten. Awakening doesn't mean we lose desire altogether. It means desire no longer controls us. It means we can enjoy life, its pleasures, its goals, its relationships, without needing them to complete us. And that's where real power lies. Not in getting more, but in realizing, I'm already whole. So let me ask you, what are you hungry for that may actually be a reflection of something you've forgotten within yourself? What would your life feel like if, just for a moment, you stopped chasing and simply rested in what already is? Because maybe awakening isn't about going anywhere. Maybe it's about coming home. Home to yourself. To now. To enough. And in that quiet return, the hunger fades. And freedom begins. 4. The myth of motivation through desire. We've been told a story our whole lives. That desire is what drives progress. That if you want to succeed, you have to want it badly enough. Push harder. Want more. Chase bigger. And on the surface, that sounds reasonable. After all, desire fuels ambition. Right. But what if that's not the whole truth? What if the most powerful kind of action doesn't come from craving, but from something deeper? You see, there's a myth we've bought into. That if we let go of desire, we'll lose our edge. That without craving, we'll become passive, unmotivated, empty. But let's take a closer look. Think about the greatest people in history, the ones who truly moved the world. The Buddha, Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King Jr. Were they driven by personal desire? Or by compassion? By a sense of service, truth, and clarity? They weren't chasing fame or fortune. They were rooted in something larger than themselves. And here's the key. Letting go of want doesn't kill motivation. It transforms it. When you let go of ego-driven craving, you don't lose your fire. You just stop burning yourself in the process. You begin to act, not from lack, but from love. I remember a time when I was chasing a certain career goal, thinking it would finally make me enough. Every step was full of anxiety, fear of failure, fear of being behind. But when I let go of the need for the title, the recognition, the arrival, I didn't stop working. In fact, I worked better, lighter, clearer, more aligned, because the pressure to prove was gone, and all that remained was the joy of doing. When your actions are no longer tied to your self-worth, you become free. Free to create. Free to contribute. Free to show up fully, not for approval, but for purpose. That's the shift. From craving to clarity. From ego to essence. So the next time someone tells you that you need desire to succeed, ask yourself, what kind of desire? Is it rooted in fear? In not enoughness? Or is it arising from something still and wise inside you? Because not all hunger leads to growth. And not all letting go leads to passivity. Sometimes, it's only when we let go that we finally move forward with heart. 5. Acting from wholeness, not from lack. Have you ever noticed the difference between doing something because you need to prove something, and doing it simply because it feels true? It's subtle, but powerful. And it all comes down to this. Are you acting from lack? Or are you acting from wholeness? So many of us move through life driven by an invisible pressure. We think, if I get this job, if I make this much money, if I look this certain way, then I'll finally be enough. It's not always loud. Sometimes it whispers. But it's there, underneath our goals, our plans, even our kindness. And when we act from that place, from a sense of incompleteness, our actions might look successful on the outside, but inside, they leave us feeling hollow. Like we are constantly chasing a finish line that keeps moving. But here's the beautiful shift. When we let go of that wanting, that belief that something outside us needs to complete us, our actions don't stop. They just change their roots. We begin to act not from fear, but from presence. Not from insecurity, but from wisdom. Not from need, but from love. And this changes everything. Think about it. A painter who creates from the joy of expression versus one who's desperate for approval. Or a teacher who shares out of genuine care versus one trying to prove they're smart. The energy behind the action matters. Because energy is contagious. When you act from wholeness, people feel it. There's no hidden agenda. No pressure. Just clarity, ease, and a quiet strength. It's like the difference between offering someone a glass of water because you're overflowing, versus giving it out of desperation, hoping they'll give something back. One is love. The other is transaction. I've learned this the hard way. There were times I said yes when I really meant no, because I was afraid of disappointing someone. Times I worked late, not out of passion, but because I feared being left behind. But every time I acted from that space of lack, I felt more disconnected from myself. And ironically, the more I let go of trying to be enough, the more powerful, focused, and alive I became. So here's a gentle question. What if nothing was missing? What if you didn't need to earn your worth, but simply remember it? Imagine the kind of choices you'd make. Imagine how you'd speak, create, love. If you knew, deep down, that you were already whole. Because when we act from wholeness, we don't need applause to feel worthy. And we don't need outcomes to feel meaningful. We act because it's who we are. Because presence is enough. And because love, when it's given freely, always leaves something behind. Even if it's just peace. 6. Letting go is the heart of mindfulness and awareness. There's a quiet kind of freedom that often goes unnoticed. It doesn't come from achieving more, fixing everything, or figuring it all out. It comes from letting go. Letting go, not in the dramatic, giving up sense, but in the deeply mindful way. A soft release of the endless what ifs, the chasing, the clinging, the constant reaching for something more. Because when we let go of wanting, something extraordinary happens. We return to the present moment, no longer trapped in the if only. If only I had more time. If only they understood me. If only things were different. We begin to arrive in what is. This is the heart of mindfulness. Not just noticing your breath or sitting in silence, but noticing your life. This moment. This breath. This reality, as it is, not as your mind wishes it to be. And here's the paradox. So often, we believe that longing, wanting something to change, is the path to progress. But the truth is, awakening begins where longing ends. When you stop fighting the moment starts to speak. And what it says is simple, but life-changing. You are already here. You are already whole. I remember a time in my life when I was constantly living for the next thing, the next plan, the next phase, the next improvement. And even when things were going well, I couldn't feel it, because my mind was always somewhere else. Have you ever felt that way? You're in a beautiful place, surrounded by love, and yet your thoughts are spinning. What's next? What's missing? What's wrong? But when you start practicing letting go, just gently loosening your grip on the need for more, you begin to notice the richness of what's already here. The sunlight on your skin, the warmth of your coffee, the softness in someone's voice, the breath moving through your chest, reminding you that you're alive. You start to experience your life, instead of thinking about it. And that is awareness. Not escaping reality, but entering it fully. Letting go doesn't shrink your life, it expands it. Because when you no longer. 7. True strength is being untouched by desire. We often mistake detachment for coldness. But an awakened person is not indifferent. They're courageous. Courageous enough to live fully in this world, without clinging to it. They can love without needing to possess. They can give without expecting anything in return. They can succeed and still not be defined by their success. That, right there, is true strength. Strength is not about dominating life. It's about not being dominated by it. It's when you no longer need something to feel whole. That's when you become free. And freedom is fearlessness. Have you ever had a morning where, for just a moment, you didn't feel the urge to chase anything? You weren't wrapped in thoughts of what's next. You simply existed, breathed, and in that breath, there was peace. That moment, that's where true power lives. The Buddha once said, "Contentment is the greatest wealth." Because the one who is content is no longer ruled by craving. They're no longer pulled by the tides of desire. They are grounded, centered, alive. In our modern lives, we are constantly bombarded with messages telling us we are not enough yet. We need more achievements, more beauty, more validation. But let me ask you this. How many times have you chased more, only to find it wasn't what you truly needed? Maybe happiness doesn't live in the next thing. Maybe it lives in the quiet power of not needing. So what if strength isn't about how tightly we can hold on, but how gently we can let go? That's the paradox of spiritual maturity. You're fully engaged in life, yet free from attachment. You participate, but you don't cling. And in that stillness, you become unshakable. Not because you have everything, but because you need nothing to be at peace. That, my friend, is where real strength begins. 8. Letting go reveals what truly matters. Have you ever noticed, when the noise of desire begins to fade, something beautiful happens? We live in a world filled with the constant hum of wanting. I need this. I must have that. I can't be happy unless. But all that noise blurs our vision, pulls us away from our center. The moment we start letting go, even just a little, clarity begins to emerge. It's like a lake after a storm. When the waves settle, the water becomes clear. In the same way, when the waves of craving die down, we begin to sense what truly aligns with our soul. Not our ego, not our fears, but that deeper truth within us. For a long time, I thought I needed status, perfect relationships, or constant approval to feel complete. But the more I chased those things, the more I felt disconnected. It wasn't until I stopped, until I allowed some of those wants to slip away, that I could finally see what I truly needed wasn't more, it was less. Less noise. Less clinging. More space to breathe. Letting go isn't apathy. It's a conscious act of love, a gentle decision to stop carrying what's not ours to hold. And here's the paradox. The less we cling, the more we feel. Like an inner compass, once clouded by expectation, slowly regaining its direction. So let me ask you, if you could release just one thing today, what would bring more peace into your life? What would help you remember what really matters? Part 9. The paradox. In letting go, life flows more freely. Have you ever noticed that the harder we try to control life, the more it seems to slip through our fingers? From a young age, we are taught to chase, to push, to strive, to conquer. But here's the truth no one tells us. Some things only come when we stop chasing them. When we stop clinging, life finally starts to flow. This is the beautiful paradox of letting go. The less we fight the current, the more we begin to move with it. And strangely, everything begins to ease up, to unfold. I remember a time when my life felt like a tangled mess. Work was stressful, relationships were falling apart, my health was fading. The more I tried to force solutions, the more resistance I met. Until one day, I sat down and asked myself, what if I stopped fighting? I began to let go of the expectation that everything had to be perfect. I allowed some things to fall apart. And in that collapse, I found something real, something truer to who I was becoming. Letting go is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's recognizing that we are not the puppeteers of the universe. We are part of something greater, something that moves with its own rhythm. So, ask yourself, is there something you're gripping so tightly that life has no room to breathe? If you let go, just a little, could something unexpected, even beautiful, begin to unfold? Letting go isn't giving up. It's opening up. 10. Letting go as the path to inner awakening. Have you ever felt like happiness is just one more achievement away? One more promotion. One more relationship. One more like. But what if awakening isn't about adding more, but shedding what isn't real? We often think the path to peace is about getting somewhere, becoming someone. But the truth? Real awakening begins when we stop striving and start seeing, not with the eyes of ambition, but with the clarity of presence. Letting go is not giving up. It's giving yourself permission to return home, to who you were before the world told you who to be. When we release our clinging to desires, we walk through the first doorway to inner peace. It's not the path of more, but the path of less. Less noise, less illusion, less fear. Have you ever noticed how exhausting it is to constantly chase something? You get there, and it still doesn't feel like enough. That's because we are chasing shadows. And in chasing, we miss the light that's already within us. But when we let go, truly let go, something beautiful begins to unfold. Not from the outside in, but from the inside out. A quiet joy rises. Not the joy of achievement, but the joy of awareness. That is the beginning of true joy, when we no longer reach, but receive. When we no longer chase, but choose to see. And in that seeing, we awaken. Not to a better version of ourselves, but to the truth that we were never broken in the first place.